Welcome to Energy Capital News. I'm Ana Tafoya, and today I'm with Geoff Ryan, AWP practitioner and Chief Executive Officer at Insight-AWP. Geoff will share his insights regarding the current stage of information management and its impact on advanced work packaging. Welcome, Geoff, and thank you very much for being with us today. How are you?
Good, thank you, Anna, and thank you for inviting me to talk about AWP today.
Geoff, our first question is, would you say the construction industry is currently facing a revolution? If so, which is the role of information management programs?
So, leading question, yes, of course, we are going through a revolution. And I guess the key to this revolution is our history in construction. So if we look at our history in industrial construction or just construction in general, we have a very poor track record right across the whole world. You know, when somebody comes to you and says, we are going to do a project that's going to cost $500,000, most people on the street think, obviously, it's going to cost $750 or maybe $1 billion. That's just the way we think of construction. We are so accustomed to failure. And of course, when we look at the actual problems around construction, we boil down why we fail or why we just systemically fail. It is because we don't have an organized approach to execution. And we don't have an organized approach because we don't have the information organized so that we know what we should do, what we can do, and try to get everything aligned so that we're doing the right things in the right sequence. So we've been on the trail of advanced work packaging for about 15 years now. It has legs across the world now. We do business in the Middle East. We do business in Asia. We do business in Europe, South America, Australia. There is a huge growing, if you like, excitement about AWP because it is a very simple system in its design. It is basically just the packaging of work and the sequencing of work to execute projects predictably. But the backbone of that predictable execution is the management of information. So sort of like the chicken and the egg, I guess you could say. I'm not sure which, the need for information came first, or the process of work packaging drove the need for information. But either way, they are good dance partners. So the information management revolution is coming, and it's coming because we do a very poor job of construction execution, and the world is not tolerant of that anymore.
Sure, Geoff. And in this regard, how is AWP creating this new golden age of information management for construction, particularly?
So, advanced work packaging, to give you a quick description of what that is essentially we take a project and we break it into pieces, sort of manageable pieces, and then we ask engineering, procurement, and construction to align across those pieces. So we get the right information or the right engineering, we get the right materials, and then we can build the right stuff. And then we do that in a bunch of little projects rather than one big project. So that alignment of engineering, procurement data, and materials and execution needs information management to steer that ship. So the need for an alignment across those three disciplines in work packages really drove us to, well, where's the data to support that? And how do we manage that in a data environment? Now, quite simply, the way that we do that, of course, is, or one of the great tools that we use in that is the 3D model. So the 3D model in my world is a database that is visualized. So we can carve that 3D model into the pieces or chunks that make sense to construction guys. They can see it, they can understand it, and then we can call for that engineering data for that piece of the model. We can call for all the parts and all the materials for that piece of the model, and then construction can build that piece of the model. So it's not rocket science. And they probably had something like this going around the time they built the pyramids. but we just, I don't know, we lost our way across the years, and we don't do things that way anymore. We thought that if you go back about 20 years ago, when mega projects really started going sideways, we thought that we could take engineering and minimize the cost of engineering, take procurement of materials, minimize the cost of materials, and that would give us a low-cost project. Well, it doesn't, because the cost of construction ballooned because we had the wrong materials and the wrong engineering. So we were trying to optimize engineering and procurement at the cost of construction. And the reality is that the cost of construction is about half the cost of every project. So you are sacrificing the cost of construction to try to optimize the smaller parts of the project. So, sorry, you get off in all sorts of tracks when you start to talk about AWP.
And that sounds pretty interesting, Geoff. Which is the importance of the data warehouse cloud-based engine for information management, Geoff?
That boils down into a simple statement, and that is, we want a single source of the truth. And the reality is that most projects that we go to now, depending on who you ask, you can get a different variation of the truth. And I think there's an expression popularized in the last couple of years called alternative facts. Right? So that's the reality of how our projects are at the moment. Depending on who you ask, there are a variety of answers to the same question. So the idea of a central warehouse is essentially the way that every other app works on your phone. So on your phone, an app goes to some place or a series of places and pulls data into a comprehensive model that can be consumed, or where the data can be understood. So the key for that is to have a reliable source of the right data. So we're not guessing to see if it's this today or that today or where the data comes from. We've got one place to go and get data and pull it into that model. Well, in construction, we never had that. So the idea of a data warehouse is to build that, is to say, okay, we're going to have one place that's a warehouse, and we're going to go there when we need data. And if we create data, we're going to put it there. So there's only one place where all of that information comes and goes. So when we do that, of course, then we get the chance to manage data. So we can say, hey, there should be data here and there's not. So we know that there's missing or somebody hasn't delivered it. We get to manage it to make sure that it's in the right format and it's complete and it's delivered on time. It's basically a warehouse. You think of a warehouse where the shelves are stocked with data, and it's organized by the way the consumers want to consume it. So in our world, at the center of an AWP model, we have a construction work package. So in the data warehouse, we would organize all of the data by its association with the construction work package. So when a consumer of data goes into the warehouse and says, hey, I want all the drawings to do with this CWP, the information is stored that way. Or they say, I want to know all the steel or the pipe or the concrete or all the electrical for this CWP. All that data is stored in that format. And I know you speak to anybody that is outside of construction, they're like, well, why wouldn't you do that? Well, for the last 50 years, we didn't. And that put us where we are. So I know this seems very simple to a lot of people, but this is a revolution for construction. To be thinking like, hey, we got one place to go and get information is quite a watershed moment for us.
Totally, Geoff. And finally, in your perspective, why is it essential for construction people to implement AWP? Would you recommend it in other sectors as well?
You can only be bad at something for so long before the world changes you. You know that there's a principle in project management: you can act or be acted upon. And of course, what's happened in the construction industry, still happening today, is that the construction industry is going to low-cost markets. And so if you can't build something realistically in your own backyard for a reasonable price and a predictable value, then it goes somewhere where the cost of labor is a lot lower. So we know that the cost of labor in Africa is the low-cost market in the world right now, is really low. And a whole pile of industry is going there. So my message to construction guys is, if you don't want to work and live in Africa, then we have to get our act together. That's why we have to do it. That's why we have to get good at this, because we can compete with low-cost markets. Efficiency is much cheaper than low-cost labor, and the proof of that is GDP. So if you look at gross domestic product across the world, the countries that have the most technology, they produce way more than countries that have low-cost labor. Because low-cost labor is, while it seems like it's inexpensive, it doesn't produce a lot. And it's that amount of production that is the king in the world. Well, that's what we have in our, that's the opportunity we have now, is we have the chance to use process, information management, all sorts of technology tools that are coming to construction. We have the chance to use that and become super productive, and ultimately very predictable and low cost, because we deliver predictable projects with technology. We're not there. You know, I said we've been at this for 15 years. I thought I'd be at it for 5 years and be out of a job, but we're just scratching the surface. So we got a long way to go.
Well, Geoff, thank you so much for your time and your insights. And we are sure they'll be highly attractive across all the energy sectors for construction people and also for our audience. Thank you very much. And we also thank the people who are watching us. Would you like to say something more?
No, just that, you know, if I tweak some of your interest today, go and Google advanced work packaging. There's a huge community right across the whole world that is on board with all the stuff I just talked about. We know we can do a better job, and the tools and the processes are out there to help us do a better job. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share this with people.
Thank you very much, Geoff. Thank you to our audience, and see you soon in another Energy Capital interview.